Hit that like button as you come in. Say what's up, where you're watching from. Say where you're watching from. You know what I always say, troll at your own risk. If you're in here trolling, you know I'm going to come for you. We're going to play games, but it's going to be all out of love. So hit that like button. Tell me where you're watching from. Yeah. Most of all, hit the like button. Y'all be acting up with that like button. It does a lot for the channel. Does a ton for the algorithm. Hit the like button for me. Alright, guys. So, first things first. We got news up first before I jump back on here. So, we're going to do voter panel first. Shout out to Fox News. Voter panel clashes over economy and looming shutdown. Then we're going to go over to Andy News. Shout out to them. House Speaker Mike Johnson slammed Democrats. We got full presser at DRN News. Shout out to them. Hakeem Jeffries slams Trump and GOP. So this is still amid the shutdown. And then we got President Trump's 60-minute interview. So the only clip I'm going to play in this entirety is the voter panel clip and President Trump's interview. Everything else, we're only going to go a couple minutes in. So for Mike Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries going at each other about the shutdown, that's 28 minutes. That's 19. We'll probably go about 12 minutes into those. So let's start with the voter panel first. Remember, guys, hit that like button for me. Say what's up in the chat. Say where you're watching from.
If you live in a Delaware zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, listen carefully.
Well, tomorrow is Election Day and 3 major races that we've been watching on the Faulkner Focus today. And they could shed light on voters' decisions going forward, particularly for midterm elections. Today marks exactly 1 year until the midterms, and Americans are set to decide whether Republicans will keep control of both congressional chambers. The outcome will have a tremendous effect on the second half of the president's second term. There's no better way to see how voters are feeling, it's my favorite way actually, than to hear from them directly on our voters' voices. In studio with me now, a panel of Americans whose views span the political spectrum will dig into the issues that matter most to them when they cast their ballots. And right now, the congressional balance of power is razor thin in the Senate. Take a look at your screen. Republicans have the majority with 53 seats. Democrats and 2 independents who caucus with them hold 47. Just a 3-seat margin with 33 of those 100 seats up for grabs in 2026. So you know things are going to change. We just don't know how yet. Let's get an idea today. In the House, the Republican Party has 219 seats right now. Democrats have 213 with 3 spots vacant. All 435 of those seats will be on the ballot next November. And recent polling shows that right now, voters don't see either party very favorably. Well, let's face it, Congress is never really popular, but they're particularly unpopular right now. Democrats are taking the worst of it with only 28% with a positive view, 37% positive for Republicans. All right, let's meet our voters' voices today. Republicans, Maria, Jason, and Dwayne, a former New York City Assembly candidate. Our Democrats, Amanda, Jay, and Dan, and independents, Dove and Mary Joseph. Great to see you both. I want to start with those independents, actually. Mary Josephine, I'm going to start with you. I know that you vote, you say, according to the issues that are most important. So for the midterms, give me what's most important to you.
The economy. I just feel like we haven't had any reprieve from the inflation. We don't have the taxes are just out of control. I really feel that, Americans need breathing room, and we don't have that right now. Interest rates are really high. Housing is unaffordable. It's really, really difficult for, anybody to make it. That's how I feel. I mean, if I feel these pressures as a business person, I can only imagine what the middle class and lower middle class feel like. Obviously, there are people there making money. There are people in the upper echelons that succeed and do well. But I believe for the middle class, it's really, really, really difficult. And I mean, if I'm feeling it, I can only imagine others are too.
You know, it's interesting. And you've been on panels in the past here on Voters' Voices. I welcome you back. As an independent, you can see it kind of different ways, but you're hitting on that affordability situation. And that's something that Republicans are going to have to deal with. They're seeing it in a lot of different places. But the facts are that inflation has come down precipitously. And the problem is that it was at 9% or better for so long under the last president that the prices don't come down. They wait for the economy to reset. And so the 2 to 3% that we continue to go up is based on those high prices. And that's what affects affordability. So you've got to hit at something that takes away the pricing, like the price of energy, like some of the things that Republicans and this Republican president have said that he's trying to do through the tariffs. So we're watching all of it. But what you feel counts. Dwayne, I want to come to you and just get your idea about where you, because I see you nodding a little bit, but I'm wondering, where do you really want for the midterms the power to go?
So I would like the GOP to stay in power because I think we need to start having tough conversations about spending even more. I think when we look at the Doge cuts, I think there's even more space within the federal government to downscale because what we're seeing now, some of this in the small business area, taxes are insane. With inflation, that means the government's taking in more money, and where is it going? I also think that the GOP needs to give us a reason to be inspired. Let's talk about infrastructure. Let's talk about education. Things that really show the public that we're moving forward. We need bullet trains. We need to show the country that we can be modern and we can lead again. And I feel like right now our public discourse doesn't really reflect what we need to mobilize and feel together as a country.
I want to go to Amanda, a Democrat among us today. Talk to me about what you're hearing from an independent and a Republican now. Do you see any common ground?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, the issues are always the same, right? I think what's really important and standing out for me right now is if we can take ourselves like a high level, like not say immigration, not say economy, not say all the hot talking points, and just ask ourselves, how are we treating our neighbors? Like, how are we treating one another? And is it okay that yesterday, on Saturday, 42 million of our neighbors no longer can feed themselves? Is it okay that our neighbors are getting taken off the streets by ICE? Is it okay that gender affirming care is being taken from young people who really need it to survive? Is it okay that the Supreme Court has now justified racial profiling? That's not how I want to treat my neighbor. So I want to like take away the hot button labels and just kind of ask ourselves, how are we treating our neighbors and how will our policies and those who we vote affect that? Can we vote for people who will treat our neighbors the way that we want to be treated? That's my question. And for me right now, that's the Democratic Party.
A show of hands, how many of you certainly see right now, and I saw it in the state of New Jersey, one of our biggest feeding programs, table to table, and that state is under pressure. And the timing is such that you've got a gubernatorial race going on. And I'm hearing, and I was at a town hall recently with Sean Hannity last week, I'm asking about the issues of feeding people.
Right.
And that's what it's going to take too. It can't just be covering these races for all their numbers.
Right. And so how do we justify that with a president who used feeding people as a bargaining point to get his...
Is that what happened though, Maria?
So I think we can all agree that the United States has always been a melting pot and we want it to remain as so. But with immigration and feeding people, that still comes into question because we all worked very hard and coming from an immigrant family, my family had to do everything the correct way. However, I do think that it dials down to the process in which we're bringing people in. The border becomes a very hot topic with that, right? One end sees it as we want to keep people out. The other side wants to see it as we want to vet people and guide them to the right process. However, that process also sometimes does take such a long time in this country to become a citizen or to get your paperwork that's what circumvents our borders and forces people kind of to go the wrong way.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm going to get back to my question because you kind of brought me back to it.
Yeah.
You mentioned neighbors. If there are illegals living among us, how many of you think that an illegal alien who came across our border and broke our first law, our sovereignty as a country, how do you see them as a neighbor? Are they?
Well, I'm illegal here, right?
Hold on, hold on. A show of hands. How many of you see that individual as a pure neighbor? That's the majority. That's 5-3. So how do we cross this divide? How do we get there, Doug?
Honestly, I think it's hard. The rise of the partisan politics has really jeopardized what I view as one of the great features of American democracy, which is being able to work across the aisle. And I'm really looking for candidates who are able to do that, moderates, centrists, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, who are really able to work together in order to address issues like that. And in terms of your question on immigrants, I think a person is a person, regardless of what their legal status is, and their legal status can change. And I don't know or really care what their legal status is personally. I think if they're a person, they're my neighbor, and I'm going to treat them that way.
I think that there's a difference between
Wow, he might actually be a Christian. What do you know?
To me and my faith is one thing is being nice to people from different lands, but they also have to be respectful of our laws. And everybody wants to come to the United States because we have a great economy, have a lot of opportunity, but there's a process to do that. My family has been here since at least the 1700s. There's no one that's gave us a free $1,400 debit card. No one gave us a free apartment. No one gave us anything free. We had to work for it. So there is a process. And if we respect all people, that means that the people that come here need to respect our laws. And that's all that we're saying. We allowed 20 million immigrants in here legally since 2000. How much is too much, and how much are we going to put the burden on the taxpayers? Because the money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just common sense.
So, Maria, I see you nodding. Jason.
Of course. Well, when it comes to illegal immigration, and we were talking about the shutdown previously, we have to point out that when we're talking about the bargaining chip, I don't think we can blame the president for that. I actually think we have to blame the Democrats for that. And this shutdown has not been popular, okay? This has been the Schumer shutdown. And they're playing politics with people's lives.
Yes.
And it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. And none of us would defend that.
Yeah.
I think it should really be referred to as the Republicant Party, because all they talk about is what they can't do. They can't reopen the government. They can't find a way to feed poor people.
Wait a minute. You do understand that they gave a House passed, and you know one of the hardest places on the planet to get something passed is in the House. Because there are so many more, members, and many of them have races at different times, and I mean, it can get complicated there. They passed a continuing resolution, much like the Democrats have done, and Republicans have voted to support those resolutions north of a dozen times with Chuck Schumer at the helm of Democrats, but that's not what the Democrats are willing to do this time.
But Republicans really, they control all three branches of government. They own the shutdown. There's no question about it. And as far as immigration goes, I have a friend who is in the process of legally becoming a U.S. citizen.
They can't own the shutdown
He has
all
filed
the
the
time according to
He has gone to all the
weirdo.
appointments. He's done everything he has to do. He is so terrified of being picked up and thrown in detention by ICE that he is basically just going back to Brazil. That is not where we should be. And this plays into the affordability crisis. This city and all cities and all parts of the American economy run on the kinds of typically cheaper labor that immigrants provide to us. The prices of everything go up when the labor prices go up. And we are removing a really important part of the pathway to becoming part of this country when we terrify communities of immigrants. We should be doing it.
What's so interesting about this gathering today, we have really, really diverse thought on this panel today. We're blessed with that. We've got some independents. We don't know which way you guys are going to go on which issue. But I want to make sure that we're sticking with the facts here. This is in Democrats' hands. And we don't have the ability to have the facts driven by our freedoms. I mean, by our feelings, forgive me, by our feelings. And so if Democrats step in and give this, they still have a little bit of time before that original document even runs out. I mean, you think people are hurting now, let it go till Christmas. Like, it's time for them to step up. And if you want to see them be those adults in the room, maybe they could choose now.
But if they step up, then we lose health care. And that's a
You're
devastating
not going to lose health care. Health care was going up on its own.
For millions of people as well.
So first and foremost, I do not think that that is a genuine argument, simply because their argument is that they want to pass a clean budget reconciliation bill. The last time that happened was in 2012. That's not a real thing that happens. This is a body that's designed for compromise. As someone who worked on the Hill, we have to be communicating. You don't just get to say, I passed this bill and we're going to go into recess and never come back.
Let me ask you
because
this.
we want to fight this argument.
So Democrats now have done what you said, okay? And they came to the table, they said, look, we want to talk about health care. And one of the sticking points in there are the millions of dollars that we know go to those illegal aliens. And look, Dan, you bring up that some of them are here and they're waiting for their paperwork. Well, how long have they been here? And that's what the government, but let me ask you. So if that's part of the mix and you know you've got Republicans to agree to get to that issue right away, why not open the government now and get the foot off the necks of people who are hungry? 42 million of them. Can you defend starving people out? And by the way, it'll take at least until Wednesday for the president to fund after they go through protocols. 48, 72 more hours? Go ahead, defend that.
Okay, so first of all, the Affordable Care Act specifically does not provide funding to people who are not here and legally here for citizenship. It specifically says that in the
And you don't
actual
think that
law.
that's happening?
Okay.
And so the
So
anecdotal
wait. So if that's the case, then,
confirmations
right?
of that don't count.
If that's the case, right, then that's where the DOJ is supposed to bring charges against whoever is doing that. Now, on top of that, using this, because the government could, the president could have allocated funds to continue SNAP. There was money that has been put aside for this that he
Well,
did.
that's what he's
in
talking
his
about right
first-
now. And
he
the
did that in
earliest
his
that I
very,
understand
very
it can be
first,
paid is Wednesday.
He
administration.
could have already done it. He deleted it from the website.
One point that I think is very
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
I want to get another voice.
So I just want to say, first of all, when we talk about healthcare, the subsidies were not originally a part of Obamacare. These are COVID era subsidies that they put in place that were temporary. The Democrats made sure that it expired at this time. This was not the Republicans. Second of all, if you want to negotiate on those subsidies, you shouldn't be holding the U.S. citizens hostage. It's just that simple. It's wrong when Republicans do it. It's wrong when Democrats do it. And the fact that the Democrats have voted over 13 times to not open up the government, if they care about food, we shouldn't be talking about emergency funds. We should be having an open government. And I think that no member of Congress should be getting paid
Bring the House
during.
back into session.
y'all
But it's already in the
control.
Senate.
You all
The
are in
Senate.
control.
It's already in the Senate.
Not
Senate.
the
You don't get to say that the House bill automatically passes.
It's a
Sometimes
clean
the Senate
CR that the Biden
does
era is
not
spending
happen.
at levels. Biden
That
levels
does
spending
not
levels.
happen.
I have to tell our
It's the party
audience
of
that
can't.
this
You
is
can't do
what,
this.
now
You
we
can't do that.
got your label. This is what it looks like times a million on the Hill right now. And so the two sides are divided. And all I would say is while all of you may not agree, keep talking, please. I mean, whether you do it here, you do it at your homes, you do it out, you do it over dinner, wherever you do it, just keep talking, because you could be the model for us getting there. And I'm always going to spit what I know is either anecdotally true or factually true. I'm always going to spit that. You guys come back. I love it. I love the conversation. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.
Alright, so let's do Mike Johnson first. So this is House Speaker Mike Johnson slams Democrats at U.S. This is A&I News.
Is that Republicans have closed the government.
We're going to go a couple minutes in. This is like 28 minutes long.
Officially the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. And we wanted to just have a simple exercise with you this morning to go through just a couple of important facts. There is such a staggering amount of gaslighting and false information that Democrats are engaging in right now. And so we thought it would be useful to just this morning in a very brief and concise manner separate fact from fiction. So I'm just going to go through 4 false claims that you have heard over and over and over and just explain once more what the simple truth is. Meredith, let me see the first slide here. Here's the first one. The obviously false claim of the Democrats is that Republicans have closed the government. I've heard them say this myself. You've all seen it in interviews. They're blaming the shutdown on the Republicans, and it is patently absurd. The next slide will show you the simple fact, the obvious fact that everyone can see. It is Republicans who have voted to open the government 14 times. Now remember how this came about. Back in September 19th in the House, Republicans in the House voted to open the government, the clean continuing resolution to keep everything in operation. Every Democrat except one in the House voted to close the government. But we still passed it because we have the majority. And so we sent that bill over to the Senate. And on 13 different occasions, 13 times, the Democrats have voted to close the government. Republicans voted yes every time to open it. Republicans in the Senate and the House voted to keep the lights on, to pay service members and our troops who are in harm's way, Border Patrol agents, TSA, air traffic controllers, all federal workers. They voted to ensure that women, infants, and children nutrition programs continue and that SNAP benefits continue to go to the American families who are in need. But by contrast, the Democrats have voted no every single time. And what is outrageous to us is that they have gone onto the Senate floor. Senate Democrats, they have voted no. They have voted to close the government. And then they have gone out into the hall to the nearest camera they can find, and they've looked into the lens and said, Republicans are shutting down the government. It makes no sense. It's the most extreme example of gaslighting in the history of American politics. And many in the media have allowed them to get away with that. It's shameful. Let me show you another obviously false claim. Obviously false claim number 2 of the Democrats is that Republicans are being unreasonable. Well, here's the fact. Let me see the next one. The fact is very simple. Republicans are refusing to accept the Democrats' outrageous demands. Now, why do we say that? Now, remember, the Republicans passed a clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan. It was a simple bill that would open the full government. And we can do that today. If they would pass that today, with 0 strings attached, everything would be flowing again, the government would work. Importantly, remember that we offered that CR in good faith. Why do we say that? Because it was offered after a bipartisan, bicameral negotiation between both chambers. Because you see, you had the appropriators, Republican and Democrat appropriators, who got together and decided they agreed on the need for a short-term CR so that they could continue their negotiations on the full-year funding bills. But this is something Democrats have spoken passionately about and acted upon many times in the past. We've recounted here every day. 13 different occasions in the Biden administration, they passed continuing resolutions. They did it most recently in March of this year when Chuck Schumer and 10 Senate Democrats, including the leader, Schumer, voted for the CR and told us how important that was. The CR that's on the table right now and has been sitting there for 45 days is nearly identical to the one that they voted on in March. But shockingly, this is the big thing. In addition to their refusal to support the CR and reopen the government, the Democrats have had the audacity to also demand something new. They demanded $1.5 trillion with a T in new spending obligations in exchange for the simple funding resolution. They filed on paper in the Senate record back in September, and it still sits there as their counter proposal. They would spend $1.5 trillion of your taxpayer funds. Included in that is nearly $200 billion of taxpayer funds that they want to use to restore free health benefits to illegal aliens. They want to spend billions in wasteful left-wing spending projects in foreign countries on things like LGBTQ plus awareness in the Horn of Africa, all sorts of things. I could give you a long list, and we've said it here before. They want to spend $500 million to prop up left-leaning news organizations. And shockingly, in that same proposal, as their ransom for reopening the government, they want to cut $50 billion from the Rural Hospital Fund that the Republicans just got signed into law on July 4th. That is the bill that they filed that shut down the government. And every American can see that for themselves. So their claim about Republicans being responsible is laughable. Let me go to the third one. False claim number 3, Democrats are fighting for health care. You've heard this over and over and over. Let me say something very simply about this false claim. It is the Democrats who created Obamacare. It is the Democrats who did that without any Republican votes. It's the Democrats who, by extension, have cost the American taxpayers and people who have health insurance have made their costs skyrocket. It is their policies that made that happen. And so instead of reforming it, the Democrats don't reform Obamacare. They want to subsidize it. They want to spend more taxpayer dollars. That, by the way, goes mostly to insurance companies, which makes the cost rise further. That's the Democrats' plan. When they passed Obamacare in 2010, they called it the Affordable Care Act. We know the truth is exactly the opposite. By some estimates, premiums have risen 60% in many categories.
60% is crazy.
Law. Now, the fact
that's insane.
Is the opposite. Republicans are the ones fighting to save health care. Why? It's not just talking points to us. We do this. We have ideas, and we have already implemented ideas and measures to reduce costs, increase access and quality, and eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, why do we say it's not just a talking point? Why do we say the Republican Party is the only one advancing common sense reform solutions? Because we've proven it. We did that in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut. We took a look at Medicaid and we took on that challenge. We took action to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. We got illegal aliens off the program, and we saved $185 billion just to start. We got millions of ineligible enrollees off the program, and it preserved it. It strengthened Medicaid for the people who rely upon it, which is the elderly, disabled, and young pregnant women, as we always use as an example. No, it's not about health care. That is a false claim, and everybody knows it. Everyone in America, and certainly everybody in this room, understands that this is about something else. What this is about fear. The Schumer shutdown was never about health care. That's a distraction. It's a red herring, as we say in debate club. Okay, this is about fear. And what is the fear?
All right, now remember, we got to watch both sides. So after he's finished here, we're going to go listen to what Hakeem Jeffries got to say.
Resolution on the COVID-era Obamacare subsidy issue was always going to be slated for debate in October, November, and December. Everybody knows that, and every Democrat knows that. It's an issue that's too complex to be solved on a short-term funding measure like a CR. They know that very well. This is about fear. Everybody in the country is watching the elections that will happen tomorrow. You got big elections in New Jersey and Virginia, the governor's races and attorney general's races, etc. But all the attention is focused primarily on New York City. Why? Because the fear that Mamdani and all that he represents will be risen to power, that he'll be elected the mayor of America's largest city, the once cradle of capitalism, that we're going to have a Marxist, a communist running the largest city. Now this terrifies the establishment old guard Democrats in Washington. And the leaders of both chambers are among those most terrified. They're both from New York. Leader Hakeem Jeffries is the Democrat in the House, and Leader Schumer in the Senate. They're both from New York, and they're terrified. You've watched their actions carefully. Many of you have not reported on it enough. Poor Hakeem Jeffries had to finally, he was forced to endorse Mamdani. And he's terrified that he now owns the results of that. Chuck Schumer's been dancing around the issue, but he knows he's darned if he does, darned if he doesn't. They're both terrified, and so that is the fear. This is a fact, and you should print it this way. The Schumer and Jeffries and their colleagues fear political retribution from the far-left activists in their party more than they fear the consequences of keeping the government closed for weeks on end. They fear that personally for their own political future, and they care more about that than they care about SNAP benefits flowing to hungry families, about air traffic controllers being paid so they can keep the skies safe, Border Patrol troops, and all the rest. It pales in comparison, and this is a simple summary that is a simple fact. It is extremism on the left that is the direct cause of American suffering right now. One more fact. The obviously false claim number 4 this morning is that Republicans are responsible for all this pain. It's just a nonsensical statement. It's a nonsensical statement because the fact is very clear. This is about math. Republicans need at least 7 Democrats to join us. We only have 53 Republicans in the Senate. It takes 60 votes to reopen the government in the Senate. The House did its job September 19th. We're waiting on the Senate to get this done. Leader John Thune and the Republicans have bent over backwards. They've done everything they can. You saw his frustration and his anger boil up on the floor at the end of last week. A normally calm, pretty steady leader, very steady leader. We're all angry about this because we're sick of what they're doing. They're using the American people as pawns, as leverage, and that is the word that so many of them have used. We could name senator after senator, House member after House member, from the leadership ranks all the way down to rank and file on the Democrat side. They have admitted openly they're using the American people as leverage in this political game. They're motivated out of fear. They want to show a fight to the radical left so they don't lose their political seats, and they're willing to make the American people suffer for it. That is the fact. This is about math. Republicans have to have at least 7 Democrats. We need 5 more. 5 more moderate, centrist, common sense people who care more about the constituents they serve and the country that they supposedly serve than their own political futures and the retribution they'll receive from the Marxist, Mamdani, communist left in the party if they do the right thing here. I wish these weren't the facts. I take no pleasure in telling you this. It is disgusting to us. But there's no other way to candy coat this, to make it any prettier than it is. So we're now entering the 5th week.
Do we know the 2 Democrats that have voted for it? I know Fetterman's one of them. Like, I know John Fetterman's one of them. That's a given. John Fetterman from PA. Who's the other Democrat? Mike Johnson said they need 7. They only have 2.
This Democrat shutdown, it is for one reason. Democrats
Chat, who's the other
made a
Democrat?
deliberate choice to keep the government closed. The shutdown will only end when those same Democrats make a deliberate choice to open it. The entire country is calling and waiting on just 5 more Senate Democrats to come to their senses and do the right thing. We are pleading with them to do so. This is not a game. The solution is sitting right in front of them. Pass the clean CR, end this madness, and open the government. You'll hear next from our majority leader in the House, Representative Steve Scalise.
All right, shout out to Mike Johnson. Yep, so that was about 12 minutes. All right, we got to be fair, guys, so we got to go over to what they call him, Team U Obama. Team U, that's crazy. Walmart Obama, that's crazy. But yeah, we're going to go over to Hakeem Jeffries. We're going to listen to what he has to say now. It says, full presser, Hakeem Jeffries slams Trump GOP on shutdown. So tell me who's the other Democrat. Mike Johnson said they need 7 Democrats, and they have 2. I know John Fetterman's 1. Who's the other Democrat, Chad? Do we know who it is? I can look it up.
If you live in a Delaware zip code and have 0 DUIs in the
I
last
already know
5
it's going to be
years,
Fetterman. He's going to
listen
make it.
carefully.
He's been all over the news.
We will not support a partisan.
There he is. There he is.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is day 34 of the Trump Republican shutdown. And our position as Democrats remain the same.
Of the Trump Republican shutdown.
We will sit down with any Republican who is prepared in good faith to find a bipartisan path forward to reopening the government, to entering into a spending agreement that actually makes life better for the American people, not worse, and that decisively addresses the Republican healthcare crisis. We will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the healthcare of the American people. That's been our position week after week after week, and it will continue to be our position. Because the Republican healthcare crisis is crushing the American people. And now that we're in the midst of open enrollment, tens of millions of Americans all across the country are realizing that their premiums, copays, and deductibles are going to skyrocket. In some cases, $1,000 or $2,000 more per month that working class Americans are being asked to pay. No one can afford it.
First of all, that's crazy. Wait, did you hear that? That's crazy, Chad. If what he's saying is true, he's talking about some people's health insurance are going to skyrocket $1,000 to $2,000 more a month. I'm like, okay, bro. If that happens, I won't be paying for health care, so I don't care.
Americans all across the country are realizing that their
insane.
premiums, copays, and deductibles are going to skyrocket. In some cases, $1,000 or $2,000 more per month.
That's crazy.
That working class Americans are being asked to pay. No one can afford it. And people will be unable to go see it.
I hope he's being overzealous. Like, I really do. I hope he's being overzealous, because $1,000 to $2,000 a month is really crazy.
Doctor, when they need one, which is why the Affordable Care Act tax credits need to be extended. It's not that complicated, but Republicans could care less, because all they do is serve the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. At the same period of time, it's extraordinary that Donald Trump, his administration, and corrupt Republicans on Capitol Hill are voluntarily and intentionally withholding SNAP benefits from 42 million Americans who are at risk of going hungry. This includes 16 million children. This is an intentional decision not to pay full benefits, because the money exists in a contingency fund. to ensure that not a single American, not a single child, not a single veteran, not a single senior goes hungry. This irresponsible behavior is the reason why the overwhelming majority of the American people are very clear that under Republican control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, the country is moving in the wrong direction. Donald Trump's disapproval ratings are in the toilet. The American people know that all of the promises that were made to lower the high cost of living have not been kept. Costs aren't going down, they're going up. The situation is an ever-occurring disaster, which is why we're going to see big victories tomorrow by Democrats across the country.
Come on,
Questions?
bro.
You mentioned SNAP in the funding of contingency plans and things that that only covers half of the program. What is the easiest way to fund SNAP just for Democrats to fund the government?
No, the easiest way to fund SNAP is for the administration to do exactly what it's done in so many other instances, including the administration finding $40 billion in order to bail out their right-wing dictator wannabe friend in Argentina. That's putting Argentina first, not America first. They found $40 billion. And now want to claim that they can't find a cent in order to make sure that millions of Americans don't go hungry. This is an intentional, vicious choice that Donald Trump and Republicans are making. And not a single American should go hungry. Not a single American. And it's the fault of Republicans that that is happening in this country right now. Thank you. Thank you.
What do you say to progressives who are disappointed at your slow embrace of Zoran Mamdani and yesterday saying you do not believe he's the future of the party?
What I indicated is that if we truly believe, as many of us do, that Donald Trump represents an existential threat to everything, that in order for us to get from where we are to where we need to go and end the national nightmare, then House Democrats are going to have to be successful in taking back control of the House of Representatives.
What about the slow embrace of Mamdani?
I issued a statement on the eve of early voting, and the statement speaks for itself.
It was reported earlier today that Pelosi is thinking about stepping down after tomorrow's election. What are your thoughts on the potential future of Pelosi's involved with the party?
Well, Nancy Pelosi is an iconic, legendary, transformational figure who has done so many things over so many years to make life better for so many people. Ultimately, we'll wait on her to see what decision that she makes. And there's nothing really more to say beyond that. Thank you.
On the other side of the building, we heard last week that the SNAP deadline.
Hold on, chat, because I can see something. Hold on a minute. Hold on. What? Nunya? Nunya, shout out to you, Nunya. My insurance went up by $624 per month. You can go in now and see how it will affect you. Bruh, please tell me you're lying. Like, bro. Bro, my insurance, I already hate my insurance. Your insurance went up, yo. Please tell me you was paying $0 and it went up $624. Because, bro, no. Nah, bro. Nah, that's not, this can't be life.
I mean, today was one of the drivers of behind-the-scenes bipartisan discussions. Now that we know that half of the SNAP benefits are going to go out, with more than 50%, is there still that urgency from both sides in your view to try to work out some kind of off-ramp?
The urgency, as far as I'm concerned, for Democrats, is that we need to reopen the government. We need to find a bipartisan path forward to enacting a spending agreement that actually makes life better for the American people. But we also have to decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis. In a year where Republicans have enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, almost $1 trillion.
Yo, chat. Who already had a health insurance increase? That's why y'all don't see me, because I don't want y'all to see me eating. But who already had a health insurance increase? Nunya just said their insurance went up $624. Who had a health insurance increase? Because if that's, bro, I hope your insurance was $0. Because that's crazy. If my insurance goes up $600, I'm paying a crazy amount a month. So I want to know who had a health insurance increase. Put it in the chat if your health insurance went up, or if you saw a health insurance increase.
Ripped away from more than 14 million Americans.
Like I really do.
Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers are closing all across the country because of Republican policies and what they did in their one big ugly bill. Medicare is confronting a possible $536 billion cut this year if Congress doesn't act by the end of December because of the one big ugly bill. And then on top of all of that, as we find ourselves now in open enrollment, tens of millions of Americans are experiencing dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles because Republicans are unwilling to find a dime to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class, middle class, and everyday Americans. That's why Democrats have been in this fight, to make sure that we are delivering for the American people, lowering the high cost of living and addressing the Republican healthcare crisis. And it should be done with urgency now. But Mike Johnson and Republicans on Capitol Hill, who don't work for the American people, they just work for Donald Trump, he's their boss, have canceled votes now for 6 consecutive weeks. They're nowhere to be found. They're missing in action. They're scattered throughout the country and the world. They're on a taxpayer-funded vacation while hard-working federal employees have been furloughed or being forced to work without pay. That's sick. That's a sick thing that Republicans are doing. So, as Democrats, we're in this fight. Today, we'll be in this fight. Tomorrow, we'll continue to be in this fight until we address the issues that need to be addressed for the American people.
Mr. Lear. I guess on the Epstein files, which still have not been released, on a personal note,
I don't like how he's not taking no accountability. But that's not shocking to me with Hakeem Jeffries. No accountability, Hakeem.
Well, the Trump administration and Mike Johnson are running a pedophile protection program. That's what they've been doing.
What?
And that's the reason why they refused to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. For weeks now.
A pedophile. Oh my God.
It's the final game, folks, and this one wins the series.
Struck out with the cheap seats. Important things aren't worth compromising. At Farmers, we offer both quality insurance and great savings. Here, take mine.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Listing your house on the market isn't the only way to sell your house. Selling to us is much faster, easier, and way.
She was elected in late September decisively. And Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva still hasn't been sworn in because she'll become the 218th vote on an up or down piece of legislation that will require the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. And yet week after week after week have gone by and Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva is unable to serve 800,000 plus people in the state of Arizona, all because of the pedophile protection program being run by Mike Johnson and House Republicans at the direction of their boss.
Hakeem, that's a crazy allegation, Hakeem. That's a crazy allegation. That's crazy work.
Expressed for weeks that you expect Democrats to win in Virginia, New Jersey, and California. I'm curious if you believe them.
Now, you know, we know the biggest child trafficker is a Democrat, and we know who she is, Hakeem. Don't be lying. We know who she is.
Kind of articulating the vision of what America will look like when Democrats are in control, not just resisting what the Trump administration has done, but also putting forward the vision to fix healthcare, as you said, put forward comprehensive immigration. All of the policy kind of planks that Americans are looking for.
We know the biggest child sex trafficker is a Democrat. We know who she is.
Or is this all about a referendum on President Trump and his administration?
I spent time yesterday in New Jersey, including with the next governor of the state of New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, who's running on a clear platform of lowering costs and making life more affordable. And that, of course, is what Democrats have been doing all across the country. And as House Democrats, we've made clear that
No, Leslie, the biggest child sex trafficker, I said we know who she is, and we know she's a Democrat.
the American people deserve better than the extremism that has been unleashed on them. From day one of this presidency, you deserve better. That's the point that Democrats have been making all across the country. And that we're going to work hard to lower the high cost of living. We're going to work hard to fix our broken healthcare system. And we're going to work hard to clean up corruption in Congress, in the courts, and in the administration. Because Donald Trump is running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country in service of his billionaire donors and enriching his family and friends. And because that's the focus of the Trump administration, costs haven't gone down, they've gone up. Electricity bills through the roof. Housing costs, out of control. Childcare costs, out of control. Groceries, out of control. And now tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Clearly, America's heading in the wrong direction, and there is a better way that Democrats are offering. And that's why I believe we're going to see
20 million illegals.
Significant Democratic victories across America, including in New Jersey, in Virginia, and in California. Thank you.
2 weeks ago, we saw competing bills from Senators Johnson and Holland over how to pay federal workers essential and non-essential. How do you encourage Democratic policy in the Senate to reconcile the differences between the two bills moving forward, especially when we want bills to move forward and if it's unlikely for the Democrats?
It's not clear to me what's going to be on the floor of the Senate this week, but what we have said as House Democrats is that we will consider anything bipartisan that emerges from the Senate in good faith, that reopens the government, that is bipartisan in nature, that makes life better for the American people, and of course that decisively addresses the Republican healthcare crisis that's crushing people all throughout this country. In rural America, working class America, urban America, the heartland of America, small town America, and black and brown communities throughout America. The Republican healthcare crisis is crushing people. And that's why Democrats continue to stand up for everyday Americans. Thanks.
If Democrats see tomorrow, how do you think that would change the conversation? The government shutdown, this line, you guys can stop and wait right now?
That's a question that needs to be asked of our Republican colleagues. They've been on the wrong side of Republican sentiment for weeks now. And they could care less. You know why? Because all Republicans care about is the opinion of one man, the puppet master of the Republican Party, Donald J. Trump. They don't care about anything else. How else can you explain the fact that they are weaponizing hunger? How else can one explain the fact that they refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and they're hurting their own constituents? The 5 states most impacted by the failure to extend the Affordable Care Act are all led by Republicans. West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Republicans could care less. How else can you explain the fact that Republicans have canceled votes now for 6 consecutive weeks? Missing in action, taxpayer-funded vacation, running the pedophile protection program while doing nothing. Oh my gosh. To make life better for the American people.
Stop it, Hakeem. Stop it.
Hasn't given them the order to sit down and actually reopen the government and negotiate a bipartisan path forward. What's Donald Trump been doing this weekend? He was on the golf course, spitting in the face of the American people with his inaction and his indifference.
He is very drastic. He's always like that. All right, Mr. Jeffries, that's enough of Mr. Temu Obama there. Listen, speaking of Obama, I was watching yesterday. He was in Virginia, supporting this lady. What is this lady's name? Some type of burger. I don't know her last name, but I know she's going against a black lady that's a Republican out there. I think her name's Winsome. Bruh, I'm telling you right now, I always felt some type of way about Obama, but he really rubbed me the wrong way yesterday. Like, okay, Abigail Spanberger. Okay, I was gonna say Impossible Burger, something like that. But I mean, listen, Obama's stressing me out, bro, because he literally was in Virginia. Bro, I can't with him. Like, we're not gonna do this. Any black people in my chat, I don't want to hear y'all mouth. I don't want to hear y'all saying nothing about Obama. Because I'm telling you right now, I deal with people every day when it comes to Barack, and Barack stressed me out, bro. He stressed me out. He was literally in Virginia yesterday. Leslie, release the files. Yeah, release the damn files. Who cares at this point? He was literally in Virginia yesterday, advocating for Abigail Impossible Burger. And I'm telling you right now, bro, like, this is what I'm talking about with this man. When he ran to get every black vote in America he could get. And how you gonna go to Virginia and support the white lady over the black lady? I don't really care. Like, I really don't care. It's just he's so damn fake. Like, he drives me crazy as hell. See? Like, he just drives me crazy as hell. So I'm gonna play that, but like, Obama stressed me out with that. So here's what we're gonna go to next. Trump 60-minute interview. President Donald Trump, the 2025 60 Minutes interview. All right, 60 Minutes. Y'all remember what happened with Kamala. Y'all be fair now. So this is 28 minutes. This one I'm going to play in its entirety. So let's see what President Trump has to say. This joint got 1.2 million views in 20 hours. Yeah, that's because we're in a shutdown. All right, let's listen.
Good news, the market's swinging back to buyers, which means that dream home won't be there. Nothing to lose. He's become, I just left you.
Obama stressed me out. You stressed me out, Barack.
Will continue in a moment.
We met with the president.
Hey, Kim, so Winsome, like, I know a little bit about Winsome, if I'm honest. And that's, if I'm honest, it's not because of Winsome. I actually like what I do know about her and what I've heard about her. I don't like Virginia like that too much. And that's just for personal reasons. Even though they do have some of the cheapest land in the United States and I want to buy land out there, Virginia kind of stresses me out. But I like Winsome. And from what I understand, like, she's loved by a lot of people there. So a lot of people, depending on where they're at in Virginia, because I was looking at the comments under her video, she has a video right now with the present governor, and she's walking outside of like the governor's quarters, and she's talking to the people, and she's really loved by a lot of people. If they're conservative, they love her like automatically. Even a lot of Democrats like her, but a lot of people feel like, I guess depending on where they're at in Virginia, that they're kind of like a red dot in a blue sea. I was like, damn, I didn't know Virginia was that liberal, but I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. Yeah, so the people who are conservative, from what I understand, they love her. She's loved by a lot of people who are conservative and who are not. But a lot of people who even were liberal were saying that they voted for her just because they were tired of some of the Democrats that were winning. So, yeah, and a lot of people were excited, but then a lot of people decided to move from Virginia to Texas as well. So the people that are still there, they like Winsome a lot. I like her. She's well educated. She articulates herself well. And I know she has a military background. That was the first thing that drew me to her, because since I was in the Marine Corps, I always tend to like, I'm drawn to people who have military backgrounds. So that's one thing that I did like about her right away. And then I started to do some research on her. So I know she's Republican. I know she's pretty conservative, raised really well, has faith in the church. She's done well for Virginia from what I understand. And a lot of people like her. But right now, the lady Abigail's winning right now from what I can see. I think it's like 51 to 41%. I think that was as of yesterday, if not earlier today. And yesterday was when I saw Barack out there advocating for the liberal. I mean, dude, it makes sense because he's a Democrat, but he just stresses me out. He's gonna run for president and be like, oh, the black people this and black people that, and then he's gonna go to Virginia and then advocate for Abigail. I can't. Like, he's stressing me out, bro. He's a confused man. I mean, I get it, but can I please, chat, whose fault is it that the government shut down, chat? Bro, they need 5 more